Before we get started, I just want to thank all the people on YouTube and Facebook for watching my crazy videos. I do this because I love to do it. I truly enjoy it, and it's kind of like a living diary to me. So thank you again. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, James, this is an unboxing video, and I'm telling you, this is definitely not. I put this video together because a lot of people have been asking me what kind of camera I use in my videos. They're asking me questions like, why do I use the camera that I use? What are the advantages of your camera? Why not use something like a GoPro or a Contour or an action cam? The truth is, yeah, they're all action cams, but none of them are truly built to be user serviceable. And so when you're talking about a sport or a game, like Airsoft, you're talking about a situation where whatever you're using could be easily broken. So every time you mount that camera on your gun or on your helmet, there's a good chance that you're gonna fall in the mud or fall into rocks, or you're gonna hit a building. Maybe BB hits your camera, and as soon as that happens, however much money you spend on that camera, whether it's $100 or if it's $500, you maybe have shattered the lens or busted the internals, and you're done. So why take that risk? When I first started recording my videos, I tried all kinds of stuff. So I had cheap little knockoff action cams. I tried a webcam. I had an S3 Samsung with a 45-degree mirror mounted on the back of the case so that you could mount it on a gun and cover up the screen. But it was just cumbersome, and again, I could always end up breaking the device. I didn't want to do that. So I guess that kind of leads me into the camera that I'm using now. So when I looked at the camera, I want to make sure that one, it was durable, two, it had a high quality image or high quality video, had a fairly wide angle lens so I could capture as much as possible, and as I mentioned before, I wanted something that was going to be user serviceable. So that meant that if any part on this broke, I could essentially go and open the camera up, replace that specific part, only pay for that part, and I did. I found a camera that was perfectly aligned with that, and so this camera that I'm using now, I've actually been using for well over a year, and the one that I use every day is the same one that I originally bought. I know I own probably 2 or 3 of these cameras right now. I've lent a few out, and they just seem to keep going. As you can see from the video, the camera is a Runcam 2. These cameras are actually meant to be used in drones. They're meant to be crashed regularly. They're very, very durable, even though they look kind of like cheap plastic. And the video quality is very high, which we'll talk about more later on in the video. All the pieces that you see here on the table, in addition to all the parts in the camera, can be reordered. So if you need to reorder like a motherboard or a lens or a cable or a battery, whatever it is, you can reorder it. In addition to that, there are third-party products that are widely available on Amazon. So the physical operation of the camera is really simple. You can see here on the back you have a little battery you can take out, and the SD card slot will hold SD cards up to 64 gigabytes. So let's say you're recording at 1080p, 60 frames per second at 30 megabits per second. That'll give you about 5 to 6 hours of footage on a single card, which is usually enough to get you through most of a day if you're playing an open play at a local field. These cameras will work if you take the battery out and hook up an external power source. So like any USB charger, like a USB phone charger, or here you can see I use an Anker battery, will work. You do not need something as large as this Anker. When you take the battery out, you also lighten the camera, so there's less wobble. It feels lighter on your head, and when you compare it to let's say a GoPro, it's about a third of the weight, so it dramatically reduces the weight. These cameras are also able to accept more than just your standard 3.3 or 5 volts through USB. They can take power sources up to 17 volts. So what I'll do is I'll sometimes take a battery like this one here, and I have a little harness that I built that hooks it into the USB cable that comes with the camera, and I will mount that all inside of my helmet. Sometimes I'll take the battery and I'll put it in a little pouch on the back of my helmet to kind of counterweight the camera in the front. And for those of you curious, that yellow cable there is actually for FPV. for drones, so it's a video out. So there could be applications on the Airsoft side. I haven't used it for that, but it's kind of cool. So when you're on the field, if you want to start recording, there are a couple different ways you can set the camera up to do this. One would be by pressing the power button and then pressing it again to start recording. That's a simple way. Another option would be to utilize the app. That would kind of be cumbersome, but as a possibility, there's a phone app for it. The third way would be to set the camera to auto record when a power source is hooked up. So a real world application for this would be you have the camera on your head, you have a backpack with your battery in it, and you have a cable hanging out. And so as soon as you hook up that USB cable to the back of the camera, it will automatically turn on, and then in about 2 seconds it'll start recording. Of course, there's a physical manual to kind of go over all these options, but there's also a PDF that you can download that's regularly updated. They have new firmware regularly. You can get everything online, as with most outdoor products these days. So next, I want to talk about the camera mounting options that you have. So out of the box, you have a couple options. You have this little caddy here, and you can use that to mount to your helmet. There's like a standard 1/4 inch type mount for that, and you can just kind of slide that in there. It locks in the front, and you can just, like I said, you can just attach that directly to your helmet. While I'm not showing it here, earlier in the video that I showed you those Velcro pieces, you can use those to attach that caddy directly to the helmet, or maybe on your plate carrier, or somewhere on your shoulder, on your gun. And there's all kinds of options there as well. Personally, my favorite is the simplest method, which is to just take the Velcro strips, and I flip the camera over, you'll see here, and I put the Velcro strip on the bottom of the camera. And then the opposite end of that, on most Airsoft helmets, you're going to have the receiving end of that Velcro, and you can just stick it directly to the helmet. I do that. If you watch my videos, you'll see that there's no wobble. I've hit branches, I've running head first into buildings, and the camera stays in place. It has never fallen off. It's never been ripped off of my head as I'm walking through like thick brush or anything like that. This mounting method also means that you can take this camera off very easily. So if you look at the video here again, you'll see I'm just attaching it with that little Velcro strip on top of my helmet. I can just take that and lift it up and move it around. There's no problem. Like I said, it stays put really well. You can easily move over to the side, and then in post, when you're editing your video, you can just rotate 90 degrees as needed. Optionally, you could potentially put another piece of Velcro on the side of the camera and mount it that way. I probably played about 20 or 30 games this way with the camera, and it's never failed me once, not a single time. So the camera itself has a Wi-Fi option to hook up to the app, whether it's on Android or iOS, and then you can do like really fine-tuned configurations for the camera through that app. It's really easy to hook up. I'm hooking up in real time right here. You can see once it actually connects, it'll switch over to the mode where you can see the live feed, and then here I've gone into the settings option, so you can format the disc, the SD card. You can change the output options here. There are other options in here for auto record and turning on sound or video output. The main screen where you have the video preview allows you to change all the settings of the camera, like the visual settings. So whether it's the resolution or the megabits per second or the frames per second, you can kind of scroll there through the interface and see all the different options. You can do up to 240 frames per second if you want to go and get really low resolution. So if you want to do like a slow motion video and still have a decent frame rate, that might be a good option. The camera itself can go up to 1440p. That's at 30 frames per second, which is okay, but probably not my first choice. I like 1080p at 60 frames per second. The quality is going to be, in my opinion, rivaling like the GoPro 4, not the GoPro 5. It comes really close, but that really, for me, that comes down to maybe like a true 4K solution versus a 2K solution. You can see on the screen here that there are other options for like white balance, metering mode, field of view, a few other options there that might be relevant to a typical Airsoft game. So one of the big surprises here that you may not expect would be the price of the camera. Typically on Amazon, these will go for somewhere around $79. I've actually seen them for $69 on sale, like Black Friday sales and things like that. So when you combine that with the low cost of the user serviceable parts, so like for instance, if you want to get a shell, new body, it's like $10. If you want to buy a completely new lens, let's say a BB hits your lens, it explodes, a new lens is about $30. This is all really affordable and a way better option than having to pay $300 for a brand new camera. So the other surprise here is that if you've been paying attention to that little live feed, I've actually been recording the entire video with the Runcam. So if you go back over the video, you take a look at the quality, you kind of get an idea of what you're looking at. You can see here I just used that little caddy, and I mounted it to the tripod, and it was good to go. So that's about it for the video. I hope you learned a lot about the camera that I use. Maybe it'll help you make a decision for a camera that you want to buy. If you have any questions about this camera or video in general, please leave a comment. I will answer it. I will find an answer if I don't have one. Beyond that, I do upload footage to my channel every week from games that I play on the weekends, usually on like Saturday or Sunday, depending on the field and the event. Last but not least, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you watch my other videos and you like those, please feel free to hit the subscribe button down below. It's how I measure my worth in this world.